All right, so far we have, in this introductory unit on philosophy of education, broken apart the phrase, first focusing on the phrase education, unpacking a little bit what is involved in that, preliminary definition. Then when we started to explore in more detail what was built into the educational process, the idea of preparing students for adult life, for dealing with the real world, having certain capacities and functionalities, we found ourselves led to big picture, complicated philosophical issues. And so far, we've looked at three such categories of questions. Questions of human nature. Right? Are we in control of our destinies or not? We are rational beings, we're emotional beings, what is the relationship between those two, and so forth. Questions of metaphysics. Are we living in a causal world or a chaotic world? Is there a God, or is the natural world the entire reality? Is it a benevolent world or a malevolent world, rather? Questions of ethics and the meaning of life. What are the big values that we want students to pursue as adult human beings? What should their career goals be, their family goals, right, and so forth, to the extent that we can help them sort those issues out, give them the skills and knowledge that's necessary. What kind of character traits are going to be important to our students as adults, right, and so on, and all of the questions of ethics that are significant here. So one other category of question that's a philosophical question that's absolutely essential for educational practice, and I'll first give you the technical name for it here, and that is epistemology. Another possibly new piece of terminology to you. Again, it's a Greek origin. We have the ology here part, which is to give an account of something. In this case, what we're giving in is an account of episteme, which is the Greek word for knowledge, or one of the Greek words for knowledge, right, of a certain sort here. And epistemological questions are fundamental to philosophy and education for philosophical reasons, because if you take any question from any of the other branches of philosophy here, I make a claim, for example, that God exists. There's a natural follow-up question, which is, how do you know, right, that God exists, right? Or if you don't believe in God, you come not to believe in the existence of God, what makes that a reasonable position to adopt, right, at a certain point here? So what we are asking in the case of epistemological questions are questions of knowledge, right? What is it to know? Right? And if education is about anything, it is about knowledge. We are a knowledge-intensive species. We're a highly intelligent species, and to a large extent, how we function and flourish in the world is a result of the knowledge that we acquire, or the knowledge that we don't acquire, which puts us in a position for failure. So what is it really to know? What is it to know who we are as human beings? What is it to come to know the world that we are living in? What does it come to know what it is to be a good person, and how to approach the achievement of various important values in our lives here? And so questions of epistemology are important questions in philosophy. Everything is controversial here, from those who argue that we don't really know anything, who will adopt a more skeptical approach. If as educators we don't think that knowledge is possible, then certainly we're going to radically de-emphasize the importance of the transmission of knowledge and knowledge acquisition skills, right, as educators. But also there is an important debate within epistemological circles among those, and in applied cognitive circles, applied knowledge circles, between those who believe that knowledge is possible but have radically different approaches to the achievement of knowledge. For example, if we tie epistemology to metaphysics, as it often is, we can say one side of the metaphysical divide is between those who are very naturalistic in their view of reality. The world is the natural world, and so that's an important thing for us to come to know. But if the world is the natural reality, then how do we come to know that? It makes sense to say that, well, we have 5 sensory organs if we're born normal and healthy, and those are the basis of our knowledge. So we come to know the world through sense perception. We have a rational capacity that we can use to classify our sensory perceptual data that can be go on to form abstract hypotheses, chains of cause and effect, theoretical understandings of the world. And so we might then make an argument that knowledge is something that should be based on the senses, that should be a matter of reasoning, and maybe in the most complicated, frontier, cutting-edge parts of knowledge, that we really come to know things as a result of doing science, right? If something gets through the scientific method, that is something that really can count as knowledge. Of course, if we have partial sensory data, or our reasoning is inconclusive because we don't have enough data to go upon, or if we're in the initial stages and we merely have hypotheses that we're kicking around and trying to sort out, we might have terms that are not as heavily fraught as saying that we know what's going on. We might say that rather than our knowledge being definitive, we have only probabilistic knowledge at this stage, or we have a number of possibilities right at this stage. And so an important then part of cognitive training will be teaching students how to make those more fine-grained judgments, being able to tell when they're dealing with something that's only a hypothesis, or something that is a reasonable certainty, or being able in some cases obviously to dismiss certain things as just as ridiculous and not worth spending one's time on. So developing our rational capacity in all of these areas then becomes a very important part of the project if we are more naturalistic, right, in our metaphysics.